So there I was walking into Pinnacle Solutions on what I thought would be just another mundane Tuesday morning, clutching my overpriced latte like a security blanket, when I see her standing by the elevator banks looking like she just stepped out of some corporate fever dream with her perfectly pressed blazer and that smile that screams, I've never had to work for anything in my life. And I'm thinking, great. Another entitled princess who probably thinks diversity means having both blonde and brunette highlights. But little did I know, this woman was about to become my personal villain origin story because apparently the universe decided I needed some character development through workplace trauma. And let me tell you, the tuition for this particular lesson was going to cost more than my actual MBA. Her name was Ashley, which of course it was because every Ashley I've ever met has been blessed with the supernatural ability to make my life exponentially more complicated. And she had that particular brand of confidence that comes from never having to question whether you belong somewhere, which I recognize immediately because I've spent my entire career being the only Black face in rooms full of people who look exactly like her. And she's doing that thing where she's scanning me up and down like I'm a particularly interesting specimen in her personal zoo. And I can practically hear the gears turning in her head as she tries to figure out what box to put me in while simultaneously calculating whether I'm worth acknowledging or dismissing outright. The elevator doors open with that mechanical ding that sounds like a boxing match bell, and we both step inside. And she immediately starts with the small talk, which would be fine, except her version of small talk involves asking me if I'm new here with this tone that suggests she already knows the answer and is just testing to see if I'll lie about being the diversity hire, which is exactly what she thinks I am. And I can tell because she follows it up with that classic passive aggressive gem about how wonderful it is that the company is finally embracing inclusion initiatives, as if my presence here is some sort of charitable act rather than the result of my MBA from Northwestern and 5 years of client management experience that would make her resume look like a napkin sketch drawn by a caffeinated toddler. But I smile and nod because that's what we do, right? We smile and nod and play nice while these people reveal exactly who they are with every breath they take. And Ashley here is just getting started because the elevator is moving slower than corporate bureaucracy. And she's got time to really dig into her repertoire of microaggressions, starting with her observation that I'm so articulate, which she delivers like she's handing me a trophy for basic human communication skills. And I'm standing there thinking, lady, you haven't heard me articulate anything yet, but just wait because this is going to be more fun than a shareholder meeting during an SEC investigation. She asks what department I'm in. And when I tell her business development, she gets this look like I just told her I'm the new janitor, which would be perfectly respectable work, but clearly not what she expected from someone who looks like me. And she starts explaining how business development is really challenging and requires a lot of relationship building with high level clients, as if I don't know what my own job entails. And I'm nodding along while mentally calculating how many ways I could destroy her entire existence with nothing but a spreadsheet and some strategic email forwards. Because, honey, I didn't get this far by accident. And I sure as hell didn't get here to be lectured by someone whose biggest accomplishment is probably getting daddy to write a recommendation letter. The elevator finally reaches the 15th floor after what feels like a geological epic. And as we're walking out, Ashley mentions oh so casually that she's heard the company has been under a lot of pressure to diversify their leadership team lately. And isn't it great that they're giving opportunities to people who might not have had them otherwise? And there it is, the verbal equivalent of a slap across the face, wrapped up in corporate speak and delivered with that synthetic smile that says, I'm not racist. I just think you should be grateful for the scraps. And I'm standing there feeling my blood pressure spike while she continues her little performance, completely oblivious to the fact that she just declared war on someone who plays chess while she's still figuring out checkers. I excuse myself to find the ladies' room because I need exactly 30 seconds to stare at my reflection and remember who I am and what I'm capable of. Because Ashley doesn't know that I've been quietly revolutionizing client retention strategies since I got here, or that three of the biggest accounts we landed last quarter came directly through relationships I built, or that the CEO specifically requested my input on the cure expansion strategy. But she's about to find out, because I don't just play the game. I rewrite the rules and make everyone else scramble to keep up. And right now, Ashley is about to discover why you should never underestimate someone based on their melanin content. When I get back to my desk, there's already an email waiting from Ashley with the subject line, "Welcome to the team," complete with a list of resources for new employees, including links to diversity and inclusion training materials and something called Navigating Corporate Culture for Underrepresented Groups. And I'm sitting there staring at this digital manifestation of her assumptions about me. And I realized this isn't just ignorance. This is weaponized condescension disguised as helpfulness. And she's about to learn why that was a tactical error, equivalent to bringing a squirt gun to a nuclear war. I forward the email to my personal account because documentation is everything. And then I start crafting my response, which is a masterpiece of professional courtesy laced with just enough subtext to let her know that I see exactly what she's doing and I'm not impressed, starting with a thank you for the warm welcome, followed by a casual mention of the Northwestern Alumni Network event I'm hosting next month. And would she like an invitation, since networking is so important in business development? And I can practically feel the confusion radiating through the office walls as she tries to reconcile her assumptions with this new information that doesn't fit her narrow worldview. But Ashley is nothing if not persistent. And over the next few days, she keeps finding ways to remind me that I don't belong here, like when she suggests I might want to join the company's mentorship program for emerging professionals, or when she offers to introduce me to the other diverse team members, as if we're all just supposed to huddle together for safety, like some kind of corporate wildlife preserve, or when she compliments my natural hair texture with that fascinated tone that makes me want to charge admission for her anthropological study of my existence, while simultaneously billing her for the therapy I'll need after dealing with her particular brand of enlightened racism. The breaking point comes during the quarterly team meeting when our director is discussing the Peterson account, which has been our white whale for months. And Ashley raises her hand to suggest that maybe we need to consider whether our current approach is the right cultural fit for their traditional values. And she's looking directly at me when she says it, and everyone in the room goes quiet, because even the most oblivious people can recognize a verbal knife when they see one. And I'm sitting there feeling my blood pressure spike while Ashley sits back with this satisfied little smile, like she just scored the winning point in some game, only she was playing. And apparently the game is called "Let's See How Much Racist Bullshit We Can Get Away With in a Professional Setting." After the meeting, I'm walking back to my desk when I overhear Ashley talking to another coworker about how some people just aren't cut out for high stakes client work, and maybe they should stick to more supportive roles until they develop the right skill set. And she's not saying my name, but she doesn't need to, because the message is crystal clear. And that's when I realize this isn't about ignorance or unconscious bias. This is about someone who feels threatened by my presence here and is actively trying to undermine my credibility before I have a chance to prove myself. And honey, that was her first mistake, because I've been proving myself my entire life and I'm really, really good at it. So I do what any rational person would do. In this situation, I start gathering intelligence, because if Ashley wants to play corporate warfare, then she's going to learn why you never bring a butter knife to a gunfight. And I start paying attention to everything she does, from the way she handles client communications to how she presents in meetings to the relationships she's built within the company. And what I discover is fascinating, because Ashley talks a big game about relationship building and cultural fit, but her actual track record is a monument to mediocrity, held together by family connections and strategic ass kissing that would make a professional politician blush. I dig deeper and find out that 3 clients specifically requested not to work with her after disastrous initial meetings where she apparently tried to bond with them over shared experiences that she completely fabricated, and that her last 2 major presentations were basically recycled templates with cosmetic changes that she somehow thought nobody would notice, and that she's been coasting on the reputation of deals that were actually closed by other team members but somehow got attributed to her in the final reports because she has this magical ability to be standing in the right place when credit gets distributed. And I'm building this beautiful dossier of professional incompetence while Ashley continues her campaign to make me feel unwelcome and unwanted. The irony is delicious because while she's busy trying to convince everyone that I don't belong here, I'm actually doing the work she's supposed to be doing and doing it better. And my client satisfaction scores are through the roof. And I've identified 2 major expansion opportunities that could generate millions in revenue. And I've streamlined 3 different processes that were hemorrhaging time and money. But Ashley is too busy playing mean girls to notice that she's been outmaneuvered by someone she considers inferior. And that's fine with me because the best revenge is success. And I'm about to serve it up with a side of public humiliation. Then comes the day that changes everything because I'm sitting in my office going through quarterly reports when I get a call from an unknown number. And normally I'd let it go to voicemail because unknown numbers usually mean either telemarketers or people who want to discuss my car's extended warranty. But something tells me to answer. And the voice on the other end says, "Is this the woman who's been making waves in business development at Pinnacle?" And I'm thinking this could be anything from a headhunter to a client complaint. But the caller introduces himself as Jonathan Chen, and he's calling because his niece works at Pinnacle and she's been having some challenges with a colleague. And he wanted to get my perspective on workplace dynamics. Now, here's where it gets interesting because Jonathan Chen isn't just anyone. He's the Jonathan Chen, as in CEO and founder of Chen Enterprises, which happens to be Pinnacle's biggest client and the source of about 30% of our annual revenue, and the reason half our executive team can afford their summer homes in the Hamptons. And he's telling me that his niece has been struggling with someone who seems to think she doesn't belong in a professional environment. And he's wondered if I might have any insights since I seem to have navigated similar challenges successfully. And I'm processing this information while trying to maintain professional composure. But inside, I'm doing victory laps because this is about to get very, very interesting. I'm thinking about all the times Ashley has made comments about traditional values and cultural fit, and how some people just aren't ready for high level client work. And suddenly the pieces are clicking together like a corporate jigsaw puzzle from hell because Jonathan Chen's niece works here, which means Ashley has been terrorizing the wrong person, and she's about to discover that her victim has connections that could end her career with a single phone call. But I play it cool and tell Jonathan that workplace dynamics can be tricky, and sometimes people make assumptions based on appearances rather than qualifications. And he makes this sound that tells me he knows exactly what kind of assumptions I'm talking about. He asked if I'd be willing to meet with his niece to offer some guidance and mentorship. And I agree because this is about to become the most satisfying plot twist in corporate history. And when we set up the meeting for the following week, I'm already planning how this revelation is going to unfold because Ashley is about to learn that her assumptions about who belongs where were not just wrong, they were catastrophically wrong. And the fallout is going to be more entertaining than watching a hostile takeover unfold in real time. The meeting is scheduled for Friday afternoon, and Jonathan's niece turns out to be exactly who I thought it would be: a brilliant young woman named Elena who happens to be Asian American and has been dealing with Ashley's racist nonsense for months while trying to prove herself in a hostile work environment. And when she tells me about the comments about traditional values and cultural fit and how maybe she should consider roles that are more suited to her background, I realize that Ashley has been playing the prejudice game with multiple people, and she's about to face the consequences of her actions in the most spectacular way possible. But here's the beautiful part: Elena doesn't want to use her family connection to solve the problem. She wants to handle it professionally and prove herself on merit, which I respect completely because that's exactly how I would want to handle it. But she also wants Ashley to understand exactly who she's been messing with. And that's where I come in because I've been documenting everything and I have the perfect plan to let Ashley destroy herself with her own ignorance and assumptions. And it's going to be more satisfying than watching a corporate restructuring eliminate middle management. Elena tells me that Ashley has been particularly aggressive lately, making comments about how some people get opportunities because of their family connections rather than their qualifications, and how important it is to maintain professional standards even when dealing with nepotism. And the irony is so thick, you could cut it with a letter opener, because Ashley is literally describing herself while trying to undermine someone who is infinitely more qualified and connected than she could ever dream of being. And I'm sitting there thinking, honey, you have no idea what nepotism actually looks like, but you're about to get a masterclass. We spend the next hour strategizing, and Elena shows me some of the emails and documented interactions she's had with Ashley. And it's a greatest hits collection of workplace racism disguised as professional concern. And I'm reading through these messages thinking, this woman really documented her own professional suicide and handed us the murder weapon gift wrapped with a bow. And Elena and I are both laughing because Ashley has been so thorough in her campaign of harassment that she's basically built our case for us. Monday morning arrives and Ashley is back to her usual routine of passive aggressive comments and helpful suggestions about my career development. But today feels different because I know something she doesn't. And I'm watching her dig her own grave with every condescending smile and patronizing observation. And when she mentions that maybe I should consider taking some advanced communication courses to help me connect better with our more sophisticated clients, I just nod and smile because she's about to discover what sophisticated really looks like when it comes with a net worth that could buy and sell her entire bloodline. The quarterly review meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, and it's going to be attended by senior leadership, including some very important guests. And Ashley has no idea that Jonathan Chin himself is going to be there along with his executive team to discuss the expansion of their partnership with Pinnacle. And she's going to get a front row seat to watch me present the strategic analysis that's going to blow everyone away, while she sits there realizing that the person she's been trying to diminish has been quietly revolutionizing the relationship with their most important client. Tuesday night, I'm putting the finishing touches on my presentation, and I get another call from Jonathan who wants to make sure I'm prepared for what's going to happen. And he tells me that he's been watching the situation unfold and he's impressed by how I've handled Ashley's behavior with professionalism and grace. But tomorrow is going to be different because Elena deserves to see justice served, and Ashley needs to understand that her actions have consequences beyond just hurt feelings, and that sometimes those consequences come with the weight of 30% of your company's annual revenue behind them. He also mentions that he's been doing some research into Ashley's background and professional history. And let's just say the picture that emerges is not flattering. And he's discovered some things about her previous positions and why she left them that paint a very clear pattern of behavior that Pinnacle's HR department is going to find very interesting when they conduct their inevitable investigation into workplace harassment and discrimination claims. And I'm thinking this woman really has been leaving a trail of professional destruction wherever she goes, and now it's finally catching up with her. Wednesday morning dawns bright and clear, and I arrive at the office early to set up for the presentation. And I'm feeling that particular kind of calm that comes from knowing you're about to deliver a performance that will be remembered for years to come. And Ashley walks in looking smug and confident because she thinks she knows how this day is going to go, but she has no idea that she's about to become the cautionary tale that people tell at corporate retreats about the dangers of making assumptions and underestimating people based on their appearance or background. The conference room fills up with all the usual suspects, plus some faces I don't recognize, who are clearly from Chen Enterprises based on their expensive suits and that particular brand of confidence that comes from knowing you control more money than some small countries. And Ashley immediately positions herself to take credit for the client relationship work that I've been doing. And she launches into this elaborate introduction about how she's been nurturing the Chen Enterprises partnership and building bridges with their leadership team. And I'm sitting there watching her build her own funeral pyre with every word while Jonathan Chen sits quietly at the head of the table taking notes and occasionally glancing at me with this expression that says, just wait. Then it's my turn to present, and I stand up and deliver the most comprehensive analysis of market penetration strategies and client retention metrics that this company has ever seen. And I'm connecting dots that nobody else even knew existed and identifying opportunities that could transform not just our relationship with Chen Enterprises, but our entire approach to enterprise partnerships. And I'm weaving in cultural considerations and global market dynamics with the kind of sophistication that comes from actually understanding business at the highest level rather than just memorizing buzzwords from LinkedIn articles. And the room goes completely silent because everyone realizes they're witnessing something extraordinary. When I finish, Jonathan Chen stands up and starts applauding, and he tells the room that this is exactly the kind of innovative thinking that Chen Enterprises values in their partners. And he specifically mentions how refreshing it is to work with someone who understands both the cultural nuances and the business imperatives of modern corporate relationships. And Ashley's face goes through approximately 17 different shades of confusion and horror as she realizes that the client she thought she owned has been working directly with the person she's been trying to sabotage. But the real moment comes when Jonathan mentions that he's been particularly impressed by how I've handled some challenging workplace dynamics with such professionalism and grace. And he looks directly at Ashley when he says that Chen Enterprises only partners with companies that share their values of respect and inclusion, and that they've been monitoring the culture at Pinnacle to ensure it aligns with their corporate mission. And Ashley goes completely white because she's finally understanding that her behavior hasn't been happening in a vacuum and that someone with real power has been watching. Then Jonathan drops the final bomb when he announces that Chen Enterprises is expanding their partnership with Pinnacle, but only if they can guarantee that the account will be managed exclusively by me, because I'm the only person who truly understands their vision and values. And oh, by the way, he'd like to introduce his niece, Elena, who will be joining the expanded project team. And Elena stands up from the back of the room where she's been sitting, quietly watching Ashley's world collapse, and waves at everyone while Ashley's brain tries to process the fact that she's been harassing the CEO's niece of their biggest client for months. The room erupts in congratulations while Ashley sits there looking like she just watched her entire career implode in real time. And our director is already talking about restructuring the business development team to better support this expanded partnership, which everyone in the room understands means Ashley is about to be restructured right out of a job. And Elena walks over to shake my hand like partners in the most satisfying corporate takedown in history, while Ashley packs up her things and tries to figure out how she went from predator to prey in the space of a single presentation. After the meeting, Jonathan introduces me properly to Elena and thanks me for mentoring his niece through such a difficult situation. And he mentions that Chen Enterprises is always looking for talented professionals who understand the value of diverse perspectives and inclusive leadership. And would I be interested in discussing some consulting opportunities that might allow me to expand my impact beyond just one client relationship. And I'm thinking this whole situation just went from revenge fantasy to career opportunity. And Ashley's racism didn't just backfire, it created a trajectory that's going to launch my professional life into a completely different stratosphere. The best part is that I never had to lower myself to Ashley's level or engage in the kind of petty behavior that she specialized in, because the truth is always more powerful than prejudice. And competence always wins over connections when the stakes are high enough. And Ashley learned that lesson the hard way when she discovered that the person she thought was beneath her was actually the key to her company's most important relationship, and had connections that made her daddy's golf buddies look like a community college alumni network. 6 months later, Ashley is working at a much smaller firm, handling much smaller accounts, while I'm leading the Chen Enterprise expansion project and building relationships with clients who value intelligence over assumptions and results over racism. And every time I see her LinkedIn updates about her new position, I smile, because sometimes justice doesn't require revenge. It just requires patience and the absolute certainty that excellence always rises to the surface, no matter how hard people try to keep it buried. And karma has a beautiful way of ensuring that people like Ashley eventually run out of people to step on and have to face the consequences of their choices. And honey, those consequences are served best when they come with a side of professional humiliation and the knowledge that their victim is thriving while they're starting over at the bottom of a much smaller pond.